Hello, I'm CMonster51, and these are my Week 6 NFL predictions. Last week I went 5-9, which is by far my worst week of the season, and I am now 49, 28, and 1 on the season. The Texans and Vikings have bye weeks this week. So let's go ahead and start off with the Thursday night game. We have Eagles versus Giants. The Eagles, who finally suffered their first loss of the season last week against the Broncos. The Broncos came back from like 2 touchdowns to win that game. But I think the Eagles get a bounce back win this week versus the Giants. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the Sunday games. Starting off with the Sunday morning game that's going to be played in London or in the UK. We have Broncos versus Jets. The Broncos had an impressive win. As I was just saying, the Broncos had an impressive win against the Eagles. Heck, they even won that game in Philadelphia too. And I also think that they win this game and improve to 4-2 on the season. Okay, we're gonna go this way. Okay, Browns versus Steelers. 2 AFC North teams. Oh, and last I heard, Joe Flacco got traded to the Bengals today. So it looks like it's gonna be Dylan Gabriel as the starting quarterback going forward, and Shedeur Sanders as the new backup quarterback going forward as well. But anyways, I'm gonna pick the Steelers to win this game. Okay, Chargers versus Dolphins. I don't know what the Dolphins are waiting for to fire Mike McDaniel. A 1-4 start is completely unacceptable. Especially when you have a lot of talent on the team. I know that Tyreek Hill got injured 2 weeks ago against the Jets, but they still have Tua, they still have Jalen Waddle, and Darren Waller too. There's no reason why the Dolphins should be sitting at 1-4. They should be at least like at 3 wins right now. So I'm picking the Chargers to win this game, and I don't know if you're the Dolphins. I mean, should you just think the season already? Who knows? Maybe. Okay, Titans versus Raiders. The Titans had an impressive comeback win against the Cardinals last week. And also, I was saying that the Raiders are favored by 4.5 to 5.5 points. So this will be my upset of the week. I'm going to go with the Titans to win this game and get their second win in a row, and also their second win of the season. Seahawks versus Jaguars. The Jaguars, they had an impressive win against the Chiefs on Monday night. I still haven't seen the highlights of that game, but I did see that they scored the game-winning touchdown with a few seconds left in the game, and they also win this game too. And if they win, they're sitting at 5-1, and also that would put them as the number 1 seed. Whoa. Yeah, I think it will. Yeah, or at least tied for the number 1 seed at the worst. Rams versus Ravens. I'm not sure if Lamar Jackson's gonna play in this game because he didn't play last week against the Texans. And also the Ravens are a mess right now. They got blown out by the Texans. And the Rams, they had a close loss last Thursday night against the 49ers. I think the Rams get a bounce back win this week. And if the Ravens lose, that would put them at 1-5 on the season, and they would probably have like a 5% chance of making the playoffs at that point. I mean, they would have to finish like 9-8, 10-7. They would have to go on the run, or else they won't be making the playoffs this year. Cardinals versus Colts. The Cardinals had a close loss last week against the Titans. And who did I pick? I picked the Colts to win this game. Yeah, who knows? It could be another close loss for the Cardinals in this game. Patriots versus Saints. The Patriots, they had probably the most impressive win of last week when they beat the Bills. You know, I knew I had a feeling about that game. I said last week that if the game was in Foxborough, that I would pick the Patriots to win that game. But I didn't, because it was in Buffalo. And yet they still found a way to win that game. You know, in the Saints, they also had their first win of the season last week against the Giants. You know, I think the Patriots, they're the better team in this game. So, that's why I'll pick the Patriots to win this game. Bengals versus Packers. You know, I'm not sure who's going to start for the Bengals. If it'll be Joe Flacco or Jake Browning. You know, because I would assume that Joe Flacco still has to learn the playbook, right? So I'm going to assume that Jake Browning starts in this game. And in the Packers, they have to start playing better on both sides of the ball. They have to start playing more consistent. Because in that Browns game, first it was their offense that didn't show up. And then against the Cowboys, it was their defense that didn't show up. You know, they had a lot of 40 points. You know, but still, they should still win this game. You know, especially with it being in Lambeau. And it looks like this is the Sunday night game, so we're going to go ahead and skip it for now. 49ers versus Bucks. You know, this game could go either way because these are two really good teams. You know, both are sitting with the same record. You know, since this game is in Tampa, I'm gonna pick the Bucks to win this game. Cowboys versus Panthers. You know, the Cowboys, they blew up the Jets last week. And the Panthers, they got a close win against the Dolphins. You know, I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win this game in Carolina. And then I'll give them their third win of the season. Okay, and let's go ahead and do the Sunday night game. For the Sunday night game, we have Lions versus Chiefs. You know, the Chiefs, they're sitting at 2-3 right now. You know, and I was seeing that they actually are a small favorite in this game. And you know, it's kind of hard to win in Arrowhead. You know, I think they get a bounce back win this week and get their third win of the season. So I'll pick the Chiefs to win this game. Who knows that? Oh man, I'm not that confident though. Picking the Chiefs. Okay, and it looks like we have two Monday night games. The first one being Bills versus Falcons. The Bills had their first loss of the season last week. And this week they should win. Against the Falcons, who were sitting at 2-2. And for the second Monday night game, we have Bears versus Commanders. Jaden Daniels should be healthy now, because I know that he missed the last couple of weeks. And if he's healthy, the Commanders are a better football team. So I'm picking the Commanders to win this game and get their fourth win of the season. Well, it looks like that's all the NFL Week 6 games. Now let me know your predictions. See y'all later.